Great. So welcome everybody to this session. I want you, as Sarah already indicated, to give you a brief overview of blockchain and what value it actually has across sectors, and then specifically going into specific use cases, and after that concluding with some trending topics that we have right now in blockchain and also their added value. Okay, with that. All right. So first of all, let's start with the beginning. What is blockchain actually? Usually blockchain is used for, transferring data and record keeping of that data. It is not particularly like the traditional database where it's stored in a central space and somebody actually manages that central space. That's a central database, but it's more like kind of, you can imagine that there are several computers, and in all these computers, we call them usually in our blockchain world, nodes. In these different nodes, you have basically the data that gets transferred from A to B. All that information is saved in all the computers, which means if at some point something happens, like if you want to delete data or something like that, the whole network of these computers need to actually, let's say, create a consensus or reach a conclusion that this data can be changed, or what means change, but this new information can be added. So this particular end result is actually changed. So in contrast, that means through a centralized database, as we traditionally know it, it means that in a decentralized database, we have a lot of computers. We don't have a central authority or an instant that actually takes care. So there is a less risk that something gets changed, or that something gets, let's say, put it like that, like get a false information or any fraud or something like that. Additionally, just to keep in mind, if we have all these computers around the world, then, or in a country, it could be also in a country or in a city, then all these computers actually save this particular status of the transaction history that you made. So be it like, having a transaction for any monetary value. So if I want to transfer money, then all this transaction history is basically saved in all the computers. So once, as I already told, something wants to get changed or a new transaction come in, then all the computers will save that new information. And in case something needs to be added, they have also to agree on that. And this agreement is not, of course, necessary in like kind of a centralized version. And that's why we need kind of in a decentralized space, a technique or a mechanism how to reach that consensus that actually the data or like the transaction history gets changed. And this is basically reached through algorithms, consensus mechanisms, we call them in blockchain, where you actually basically reach the consensus to add a new record of data, so to say. And as I said, if anything wants to get changed, then it's all over the computers. They need to agree on that. And this makes everything a little bit safer on blockchain, because there is no central instance that actually can manipulate or can say, oh, I'm going to change that, and nobody knows then what is in there. It's not kind of a black box. It's kind of, more transparent in that way, or more trusted. That's why we sometimes call blockchain also kind of the trust layer, because we have all these computers and all these participants, so to say. On top of that, depending on what kind of blockchain you have, you can have everything transparent. So every transaction that comes in and out is actually visible. The private information of a person who sent that information and so forth is of course not visible. So there is a sort of security. The security is enhanced through cryptographic mechanisms so that they don't actually immediately tell who you are. But you have basically kind of a specific mechanism, so it is really difficult to basically find out who you are. And that said, so just to sum it up, and that's why you see here the different things, but I just want to really understand, to show you what is really the difference being from not only a decentralized and centralized architecture, but on top of that, this whole topic of including the security through cryptographic techniques. Then the immutability, as I said, you can't change the data like per se. You need to actually add a new transaction to update the status of the whole transaction history. And then we have the transparency factor, as I said, because all the data is kind of, or like all the transaction histories is visible, but of course not who you are and from whom this transaction came. But it's basically, it shows like kind of the journey of all this data that has been sent. That, just to sum it up, I hope it was clear. If you have any questions, you can also ask now, but I hope it gave you a little bit kind of a better understanding. To explain a little bit why blockchain is so important, or why it was actually coming into space, is you probably all know about Bitcoin, and Bitcoin was like kind of the very moment where everybody was looking at blockchain, because Bitcoin is basically one use case where blockchain technology has been used. And why? Actually, many people say that in the past, as we had like kind of the financial crisis, and there was a lot of going on black boxes, and it was very intransparent. Everybody was like having financial instruments that were overly complicated, and nobody was actually following through what was happening. There was a lack of trust in the whole society, right? Everybody said, okay, this is like kind of in the financial industry, can we still basically trust them? There was like a lack of trust in many areas, so to say. And that's why blockchain came there, like being the trust layer, not having a central authority that actually looks and like being the guardian, but it's giving a space for a trustless environment. And that's why, importantly, before I continue, for me, it's always important to say that blockchain is not at every time super the right thing to use. Usually we say blockchain makes always sense when we have a lot of actors that don't trust each other, when you don't even know who's actually there. This is the case in very big supply chain use cases, where you have a lot of suppliers, a lot of actors, consumers buying things and so forth, producers that sometimes don't even know each other. The supply chain is so big that you actually don't know what is actually happening there, and giving a lot of space for fraud, right? So, and this is where blockchain can actually help. But if you have a more very close circle, which is like where everybody trusts each other, then you can also use central databases. So I don't think then there it's kind of an issue. It really depends of like kind of, yeah, how big is the ecosystem, or how many actors do I have, do they trust each other, and so forth. That just as a quick overview. So let's start then with some kind of sectors that where you can use blockchain actually. As I said, I'm looking at the chat section. I see already 7. Okay. Just looking at the. All right. So let's get started then with the sectors where blockchain can actually be used everywhere. We're starting with the finance one because everybody knows it, and I think it's like the entry for almost the majority of people enter through this finance use case, meaning that Bitcoin is not equal to complete, or blockchain is not equal to Bitcoin, but blockchain enhances the use case of, or the particular real world use case of Bitcoin being a cryptocurrency. So, and this cryptocurrency basically is interesting in the way that, as I said, it's not a central authority taking care of, of this monetary system, but it's a really decentralized ecosystem where everybody can participate, where you have also the security that nothing is getting like changed randomly in the system, and that the data or the transaction of money is basically publicly viewable. So that's one use case, and it allows everybody to participate. So it's kind of a bit the ecosystem influencing more like kind of the whole system, instead of having one authority that actually decides what is happening there. All right, then we have cross-border payments. So sometimes we have difficulties when it comes to banks communicating with each other. So sometimes maybe you realize that sometimes it gets a bit tricky when you want to send money into another country because your bank is not communicating with the other or doesn't have an agreement. So with this, if blockchain would be everywhere, and we would have like kind of a more common infrastructure, then it would be quite easily possible to have like this cross-border payments, or enhance it at least. But of course, we need to keep in mind that it would need to be implemented at some point, of course. So that is one thing. Also talking about cross-border payments is like generally this peer-to-peer character when it comes to this money. As I said, I just want to emphasize this one more time. So you don't have an intermediary, but you actually send the data immediately to another person that you want to reach. You don't have anybody in between that is actually taking care of it, because through this decentralized infrastructure, it gets obsolete that you have like this centralized authority managing all the transaction of your values. And then we have like a very interesting approach, or like I would say component that adds to the blockchain case. These are smart contracts. I would always say like smart contracts in combination basically with blockchain is a very nice use case, especially when you want to automate things. So if you want to say basically, I only want to send this money to somebody if they, for example, are over 18, or any other requirement that you want to set and that you agree with the other party, or there are pre-selected smart contracts that you can basically use. But generally, it allows you to add some requirement in that it triggers the transaction, and it can automate that. So you don't have to take care and say, oh, I'm going to pay you now, and then you need to go in discussion and so forth, or create in paper your contract. So when actually money is getting transmitted, but it really allows you to automatically integrate these rules. And then if an event happens where you decide that it triggers to actually kind of pay the money, this is basically possible then with a smart contract. And again, here with no intermediary, because you can just have a peer-to-peer transaction. I want to emphasize here that, of course, if you have a smart contract, if it happens, it happens. So then the money is over there. So sometimes there is the critique of what happens if there are kind of mistakes or something like that. this irreversibility of a transaction that has been already happened is sometimes a topic there. Just want to open it, just so you are aware of it. Okay, I'm just sometimes checking the chat. All right. Good. Sarah, just one question. I only see, I right now see your comments in the chat. Can I ask you, is it okay if I continue presenting, or do you?
Don't worry, Laura. It was a question for me. Don't worry.
Okay.
It was for.
Okay, sorry, I confused it. Good. Then let's move on. And as I said, if you have any questions or anything is not super clear, just intervene, let me know. Then another very nice use or sector where blockchain is very much needed, or in my opinion, helpful. And you can see it also if you look into literature. Supply chain management and generally supply chains are very common topic, because as I said, I indicated at the beginning, especially when you have a lot of actors where not a lot of trust is there, or you don't even know what's happening basically at some supplier side and so forth. If you're very, very late in the supply chain, you sometimes don't even know through which steps the product has been gone. It is very nice to have blockchain, because you don't need to simply trust, but you actually have it there, publicly visible, what happened to the transactions. And also, of course, you don't have the central authority deciding, or central point where you basically where somebody decides what happens. It also helps to create this process more interoperable, because if in case you would build everything on one chain, on one blockchain, then it's basically for everybody accessible. And then here also interesting, when we talk about supply chain and why blockchain is so important, it's especially counterfeiting products, because sometimes it could happen that you as a consumer think, okay, this is how the product got all actually produced. These are the ingredients, right? And I trust what I read on the product's page, or on the product itself. But it may be that, as I don't have full visibility of what is happening sometimes, especially when I'm very late in the supply chain, then it could be that something was integrated wrongly or on purpose. So it actually reaches this status of, or it allows room for counterfeiting. And this is, I think, a very nice point, especially from European perspective. We have a lot of issues when it comes to counterfeiting, and we definitely, especially when I talk to other in my network, supply chain management and blockchain is a very nice combination. Apart from that, and I want to emphasize this, we have currently a lot of focus, especially in Europe, is on digital product passports, which is kind of, I would say, also a kind of supply chain use case, where you have basically all the information of a product, how it got produced and so forth, to actually be able to increase the lifetime of a product. So by actually ensuring to have all the data there, what happened to the product, when it reached when level, which status, when it got produced, how it got produced, and so forth, it helps everybody in the supply chain. For example, if we want to recycle, even to say, okay, it comes now to recycler, the recycler exactly know how it got produced, so he knows what part of the product could be, for example, recycled and what not, and so forth. So these are kind of very nice examples that actually make working together even more efficiently, because I have this data there on this passport for this particular product. and I can trust on that, because sometimes it's also the question if I can trust the data that is there, and if I can continue my work, for example, recycling or whatsoever. And this is where I think it's very nice, because I just can continue and I can trust on what is actually written there, and I don't have to fear that something happened in the background. Yes, so that's for supply chain. Then we also have healthcare. It's especially, I mean, you know, sometimes you go to the doctor and your data is everywhere scattered. So that's sometimes problematic, especially when you want to, have a new treatment or something like that, a therapy or anything particular that helps your health. Then sometimes we have really this problem of scattered data, and this is also where blockchain could actually help. And also part of the security, because as I said, even if this data is visible then to all the doctors, let's put it like that, then it doesn't immediately mean that they in the network see who you are, but it's really cryptographically saved, and it ensures that you basically that they don't immediately know who you are, but actually what you have. I mean, you can really decide how much data you want to disclose, because if you go from one to the other doctor, you don't have to disclose all your data, right? So you can really here again very fine tune, kind of basically create approach how you can really selectively say what you want to disclose. So that's one thing where I think it's very interesting. Again, here supply chain, when it comes to any medicine and so forth, it would be similar to what I explained before, so I'm not going to go deeper into that. Clinical trials is also something where it could be of importance. Here, I think what is also very interesting is if you actually participate in any data sharing process within healthcare, where we want to actually improve research in healthcare, then you definitely can with blockchain actually enhance a kind of, I would say it, market of data, health data. I mean, because we all have an interest that we know more about how a specific disease gets cured, but sometimes we don't have so much data, or we need to do these trials and so forth. But one thing we could do is actually let in a market of data participate other actors, but they actually decide and get paid for their data. So for example, I personally, if I would have a disease, I don't have to disclose my personality and so forth, but I can disclose my data and how I got cured, or anything of that could help them to in research, but I would also get paid by it. So it's kind of a getting a little bit more ownership also on top for your data, creating this decentralized network where you can participate in everybody else. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility and freedom, and owning also your own data. And again, here, deciding what gets disclosed. So I think this is a very nice example, because it can actually enhance healthcare, but it also gives you a little bit more control over your data. Then blockchain in education. I think like here the main use case, and what I would say is to keep in mind is more this. Usually, if we want to actually get a higher education, or if we want to apply for a job, one interesting use case in blockchain is actually disclosing or having a certificate, a digital certificate that shows actually that you have this qualification. Again, here it allows to actually disclose specific things only partly. So you could disclose that you have a specific qualification, but you don't need to disclose any further data. But it can really enhance the process of application, but also, visibility for other actors. That you really have a trusted certificate from a trusted entity. And because, of course, we can again here say if we see something on paper and it still could be like kind of a fraudulent document. So with this blockchain technology, what you could also ensure is if I see the certificate that you have, that you can really also trust on it. So that's one thing. And then we have, I think credential verification and secure record keeping is actually in alignment with what I said. So basically really having this trusted certifications that you have there, that it's actually also saved. And then we have like kind of decentralized learning. I would even go further and say it's like kind of a democratized learning, because especially like when you look into more blockchain environments and the fact that especially in public blockchains, everybody can participate. It allows you a little bit to really spread a bit the learning experience, let's say. Then about blockchain and real estate. Here again, I would say it's all about this transparent transaction and record keeping. So you actually know what happened, who owned when, which real estate and so forth. So I think it's again a little bit the same game as I said before. It's like really secure and publicly available record keeping, so to say, or depending which group is part of this blockchain, but that group would have like actually access to that data. Here also very interesting is like the smart contract case again, because you can create agreements with, let's say, your landlord or whatsoever, or from anybody you bought the house, and actually integrate those smart contracts together with blockchain and create a case where you can actually decide what happens when in the payment process or whatsoever. And then I would go to the public sector and explain a little bit here. One of the things in the public sector that is an interesting case is voting systems, especially imagine thinking of any manipulated cases where everybody thought, oh, that's fraud. They manipulated the process because, again, here it's like kind of still centralized in many of our systems when it comes to voting. And there is still this fear of if anything got manipulated. And with blockchain, this wouldn't be, of course, the case, because if we think of all the computers that are there, as I told you, and everybody needs to keep record of the history of transactions that happened, and the data especially can't be changed, but you need to actually allow a new transaction so the status get changed, then it's a very nice use case for voting systems to use blockchain in that case. Yes, so one of other things are like public records on procurement. Especially one case maybe that we could mention here is when it comes about any funds distributed, there is a lot of invisibility, especially in many organizations where the money flows sometimes, and actually to leverage blockchain to have a really transparent overview about what is going where, and to have more transparency of any processes happening in the public sector. So I think there are many approaches when it comes to administration or so forth, where blockchain can actually help, because it's there saved, and it's not, again, here something centralized, but it's more a bit distributed. And again, here it allows everybody to actually, view the transaction history, so to say. So providing more transparency when it comes to any process here, be it procurement or any other thing. Then another thing, there is a minor mistake, I'm sorry for that. It is actually blockchain and mobility. So one of the things within blockchain and mobility that is very interesting is especially the case of when vehicles have identities, because with their identity, they can actually interact in the system. When it gets super interesting is when we are in traffic and traffic management. So if I have a car and my car has the identity and it actually has has data to communicate to another car, I think it's very, very, very far in the future, or to any other system, then it can basically disclose that data. And you could even combine it with any payment procedures. So anytime that your car actually provides data and so forth, or you provide data about your car, then especially within the traffic, then it allows you also to earn while you drive, so to say. Of course, here again, it should be like more saved on the blockchain and so forth, so that this is actually possible and that the system can communicate, with actors can communicate within the system. Also here, supply chain is another case that is getting looked at, especially when you produce a car. You of course want to minimize the risk that you have anything in fraud, because you want to have a safe car, of course. So one of the things that may be like there are a couple of fraud examples within the car industry that you probably know, where I think blockchain could have helped that this wouldn't have happened if you would have, when it comes to the production of a car, especially, because then all this data is basically saved, you know how it got produced and so forth. So that's would be a very nice use case. But of course, the requirement here is that you first need to build this infrastructure. Then we have identity management. I indicated this a little bit also beforehand. With actually having like blockchain-based identity system management, it allows you to actually own your data, because it's decentralized. You don't have to trust any other central authority, but you basically own your own data. So that's one thing. It's really this control of your data. And then it gives you a lot of flexibility in communicating within a system. One example that might be also very interesting is there are some countries where it's still where really individuals don't have a passport or an identity card. So if you would have a digital identity, it would at least allow you to actually access some particular services, especially healthcare and so forth, because then of course the service provider would know who you are. And this would allow a little bit more freedom and more like autonomy for people that actually don't have the identity on paper, so to say. Then here are some use cases I want to briefly discuss. I think we actually discussed the sectors quite well, or very in depth. So one of the things is finance. Apart from Bitcoin, a very prominent example, the cryptocurrency Bitcoin, there are other cryptocurrencies out there that actually interact in the different systems. One example I want to emphasize here is Ripple. They, for example, help the bank to send money across borders using blockchain technology, so that it really enhances their capabilities of reaching, more, even more markets, I would say. Yeah, and apparently also the transfers happens faster and cost less. Sometimes I must be here very transparent. It really depends with which cryptocurrency you use. It could be also even slower. So it really doesn't mean that any cryptocurrency you see there is better than anything else. But you really have to also question what is the underlying, technology, blockchain technology itself, because only having blockchain isn't enough. You really also have to see how efficient it is, because there are different sort of blockchains that you can create, and one of them are better than the others and so forth. So here, a little bit caution, because it doesn't mean only because it is built on blockchain that it's faster always and more efficient. Yeah, there it's a little bit questioning also on what type of blockchain it's built. I'm going to talk a bit about this later more, so you get a better feeling about that. All right, so let me know if I have any time issue. I know that I'm a bit slow. I recognize it now, but Sarah, or let me know.
I mean, no, feel free. I mean, it is all linked to your time availability, so feel free to go on.
All right. I would not go through all the use cases, so I would hurry a bit up. Then in the supply chain case, we have like anything in the food industry. Very interesting here also when we include IoT, so Internet of Things, and the sensors that even get more data to actually allow to save them on the blockchain. And this actually creates a little bit more robust system. You can see here some examples. IBM Food Trust would be one example, but the others also provide nice use cases that you can look into later if you want. I'm going to hurry up, but yeah. And then we have healthcare. I already explained this into depth beforehand. One example would be MedRec by MIT. So that's a blockchain-based medical record management system to actually allow, interoperable, seamless transmitting of data from patients, but of course, always respecting the privacy of the patient. Then we have the education. One use case is here, like the digital diplomas use case of MIT. So they have issued digital diplomas using blockchain technology. As I said, you would have here a digital certificate that you actually, reached your degree, and that can be trusted. Then coming to real estate, one case would be blockchain-based property transaction. So by property, so anything that has been happened with regard to actually buying a house or with a particular real estate would be saved on the blockchain. And that allows a little bit more trust in the data that you see there. Then the public sector. One very nice thing is a land registry by Georgia. So they created like a blockchain-based land title registration. So it's really clear who owns that land and that nothing can be here tampered. And then we have, for example, the mobility point with where blockchain based, as I told you, that you could basically earn with your car money for sharing the data, which was actually enhanced by Dovu. One use case, one project by Dovu. And then we have the identity management here again. where one example would be a decentralized identity network, as I told you, where you really would have more control over your data. And then there are some future trends. So just I wrap it up, that you might have heard maybe every now and then, one of which would be decentralized finance. It actually basically allows kind of how you know it maybe from the banking sector, but only in a decentralized way. And then we have NFTs, which is also a trending topic. And this one actually allows owning digital assets. So it really can allow you, for example, if you have a art piece, and to actually distribute the ownership of this art piece. And could be reflected by NFT, or a music piece even. Where it gets interesting is if a musician wants to get paid based on their music piece. And usually if you have if you have a song or something like that, you have multiple stakeholders like songwriters, and performers and so forth, that actually own a specific art piece. So, and here the ownership could be distributed via NFTs. And if you include even this smart contracts, you could even decide how much who would get paid if somebody buys that art piece, basically. And then we have blockchain-powered metaverse, which is actually virtual worlds. Let's call it virtual worlds. And within this virtual world, you basically could use blockchain to actually create more trusted transactions, because it would be built on a decentralized way. I wouldn't need to trust any central authorities within that world, but it allows digital transactions, and interactions with other people directly and in a more trusted manner. Yeah, and with that, I want to close just to conclude. So blockchain has a lot of potential to actually help you in many use cases. To just keep in mind, as I said, it's not always idle for every use case. It can enhance a special use case where you have a lot of participants, where you have a lot of parties that don't trust each other, or they don't know each other. So yeah, thanks for your attention. Sorry for taking so much time.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for this detail. I must admit that, well, I'm not into the field, but you helped me understand clearly with clear examples, and with clear evidence and definition what blockchain actually is and its implications. I'm sure the rest of the group is more into the field, and for sure they will have some more insights. Does any of the participants have any specific question for Laura or any comments? Rani, I see you have unmuted yourself.
I just want to ask about, from a commercial perspective, how is it possible, trends like to shed lights of corporations that are utilizing blockchain in the various sectors? Is it commercially spreading all over the world, and is it becoming like a replacement for the centralized system, or
so that's that's a really good question, because I don't know if, probably some of you have heard it, but we had in the past, especially this topic of adoption and blockchain. I mean, it has a lot of potential, but I see it in some fields where it really gets commercialized, especially when it comes to the identity topic. There are some providers that really use blockchain and enhance it. And I would say especially this digital product passport use case that I have mentioned beforehand would have definitely some potential in the future. But still, I must admit, it's when it comes to the commercial aspect, it still sometimes lags here and there in adoption. But I would say definitely some examples that you might have seen of IBM and so forth that got kind of commercialized. Yeah, I think we still have a long road there to go. So that's at least my opinion. Especially, just to mention that one more time, or like, I don't know if it mentioned it, but with artificial intelligence, yeah, increasing in yeah, attention, some of the people start ignoring a little bit blockchain, which is a pity, because I think especially when we talk about the convergence of blockchain and artificial intelligence, for example, then commercializing any products opens up a lot of possibilities, because you could definitely see blockchain as the trust layer, a trusted network, whereas AI would be the brain. So you could create very nice security systems with it and so forth. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. And I think linking it to startup ecosystem, because the program that we are having is related to social entrepreneurship. So I think also blockchain can help startups with crowdfunding.
Yes, totally. Yes, that's a really nice example. That, yeah, agreed. One thing also, maybe when we talk about social entrepreneurship, I just want to share it because I really like this use case. It's out of the topic, but I think I'm going to share it later. It's like this. I'm going to share it later. It's kind of a use case about purpose-bound money, and it's not related directly to crowdfunding, but generally creating systems of payment and so forth. All right. So thanks for your question, Rani.
Thank you.
Any further comments or any other doubts? I see, Rani, you're still unmuted. Do you have any other question? No. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. I was particularly interested in the connection between blockchain and mobility. I've never thought about that. And I think it has real implications in our everyday life. Precisely before moderating this webinar, I had to go to the local police because I have lost the certificate of property of my car. And this required go in there. And I was thinking whether blockchain could indeed help, apart from,
Totally.
yeah, exactly. I would have avoided going there to declare I've lost the certificate. I don't know whether any of you think of any implications close to your reality, to the reality you work with. Has anything that Laura has shared made you think about potential further implications in your daily life and work perspective?
So one thing I just want to share, because I definitely feel like it, directly for me, of course, one of the things I interacted are cryptocurrencies. But I kind of also had some projects where I really saw value and I really believe it helps there. It's this ownership topic. Especially like the use case of this music art piece that I said, because I know in that area we have a lot of problems when it comes to actually musicians getting paid and actually focusing on what they are good at in creating music instead of doing paperwork and so forth. So I think there I also heard feedback from artists that they would wish to have something like that. Another thing is definitely the digital product passport. For me as a consumer, I really want to trust the data, what I read on the product, and also implications for me if it's like sustainable. And then one of the other things that I really know, it's like a pain, especially when we talk about actually supporting other countries in specific areas, or any other thing, is like really this funding topic, because I know, especially when it comes to distributing funds to specific countries, it can really get an issue, and it can really very quickly get intransparent. And this inefficient distribution of funds is really so key, especially when we see different countries struggling and reaching some specific goals. So I think there definitely it could help. And of course, like any social impact topic, be it incentivizing, we didn't talk about that deeply, but incentivizing with blockchain, you could basically program a local currency, or like, let's say, voucher system within a country that incentivizes citizens, or even other participants within a country to follow a specific goal, because they could get vouchers for doing specific things, be it like sustainability and so forth. And that's one thing that I would like to share later with you, like a report. It's very nice to talk about this purpose-bound money, like this voucher system incentivizing a local, a city, or citizens of a city, or a country and so forth, to a specific behavior that is beneficial. Of course, this could be also used for bad, but generally, I think it has a lot of potential. All right. I think there was something in the chat also. I think from Lama, I think we should create a Palestinian country on the blockchain with right of return, citizenship, and land reclaiming, maybe an election too. Yeah, really nice comment.
And with your closing comment on the fact that it may also be used for bad, what do you see as the main challenge? If I may ask an uncomfortable question.
As the main challenge with regards to blockchain adoption, you mean? Yeah. So I would like to emphasize 2 points here. I think one of which, or like, there are several challenges actually. So one of which would be definitely the misconception. So there are still a lot of people thinking that blockchain is equal to Bitcoin, and then they have really not the best view on blockchain, because they relate it to being energy inefficient or taking a long time. It's not very scalable. This is what I meant at the beginning when I said you really have to look at the blockchain technology. And it has like a lot of issues when people think like, oh, it's only used for money laundering and so forth, which is not true. There's definitely so much money laundering happening outside of blockchain. So just to emphasize that. So these are like kind of misconceptions that I think, hinders it a bit. And I think we still are in some developments, I wouldn't say completely lacking behind, but I think there are still some things of improvement, especially when it comes to like selective disclosure, what I said, so that you as a person can decide what gets disclosed. One approach there the industry is looking at is zero knowledge proof, so that you really don't disclose anything else but one aspect. So there's still room for improvement there in the research area. They are working on it. And then I think the adoption topic, right? It could be because maybe of misconception, but a lot of people, I think there is still room for improvement when it comes to adoption. And it could be maybe because we have to educate more, or maybe we need to just simply try to explain blockchain very simple, or not even use the word blockchain for many use cases, to see it more like kind of a part of the system. But maybe, and to conclude, to increase the adoption of blockchain, and this is still the challenge, we need to kind of create an approach where it it doesn't really need to be mentioned even. It's more like it gets used like any other technology, and we see where it benefits, and not to put too much emphasis on that it's built, or particular use cases built on blockchain.
Thank you, Laura. There is a question in the chat by Dr. Rafat. Looking at the cryptos, what are the fundamental factors that drive their market values?
That's a good question. I think it really depends. I think it's sometimes really a lot of hype, and it really also depends on how like generally the market has evolving. So we have sometimes really these peaks that are not very, I would say, that are quite random. But I think, in my perspective, what I personally look always at when I invest in anything is really the underlying technology. Of course, it doesn't, as I said, the market is still like behaving as it's behaving, very volatile. But I would definitely always look at kind of the technology and the value it adds for the community. So I think it's a lot of this community aspect within the blockchain sphere. So looking at how strong a specific ecosystem or community is within for a specific cryptocurrency makes also talking about long-term things. I'm not talking about short-term, because short-term is really not, I wouldn't say that I can really say so much about it. But looking at the long term, I think it's really important to look at the community cryptocurrency has, how active it is, how much development is there, and what it is actually built on. Like this, the activity part is I think very important. Yeah, so we're talking about any governance topics, which also think it's super interesting.
Thank you. Nidal, I see you have
If I may add also another factor, Laura, which is the regulatory landscape as well, especially any legal case around that any specific currency also would be a driver of that value, like in the case of XRP.
Yeah. I know what you mean. So that's for sure as well. And you, of course, in the past also you have like this topic also about you might have this topic of privacy coins and so forth. I mean, like now they got very hard critiques, but although they might have a very dark side, they could have like a really high value, because there are still a lot of people that are within the blockchain space or the cryptocurrency space, because they want all this anonymity, right? But anonymity, adds a little bit also to, let's say, having a downside for the whole society. So it's always, I would say, on a scale. So not having everything completely anonymized or something like that. So not allowing any tracking of or capturing of any thieves and so forth. So
And in the long run, I would also include the market capitalization of that's the best indicator, I would say, for the value and the credibility of the coin.
Yes, definitely, especially when you talk about short-term investment. And that's what, like, I didn't talk too much about short-term investment, definitely market cap, very important. In the long run, as I said, I would definitely look at the activity of the community. That helps a lot. Also looking a little bit how the communication is there. There are even specific tools that tells you how the tenor is within the community, or even social media is also very helpful. Really looking at what is generally the tenor within that community, or generally any other people that are investing. Yeah. And of course, macroeconomic perspectives as well. What is around my environment? There are a lot of, I think, also now a lot of studies that are looking at different factors. Yeah, so yeah, thanks for the comment.
Yeah, we do have a group of experts here. Is there
Great.
any other question or comment for Laura?
From my side, one last question.
Yes, please.
How do we normally review or validate or audit these blockchains? Do they have specific softwares? Because at the end of the day, everything has to be audited or reviewed.
Yeah, so I think there are different ways of auditing as far as I know, but it could be like I don't have the full visibility of that. There are sometimes even community audits taken by the community itself, or like it really depends if you have a foundation, because I worked in the past for cryptocurrency. And what we, for example, did is that we really had security audits, right? So we had somebody coming there and looking at our security measures and so forth. This, of course, you have to invest, and yeah, you have to have like I would say a foundation there, or somebody from the space does it independently. It could be also. But generally, I would say it's really if you have a foundation, nonprofit foundation or something like that, they usually invest in those kind of things. Or it could really be the community. They are either way working on the, if it's open source, they are continuing developing that specific cryptocurrency, but also then in particular cases even doing audits. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, Laura.
Okay. Is there any other comment for Laura? Other doubts or questions or concerns you have?
Maybe I want to add one thing.
Yeah, please.
That's not about audits, but it's more about ranking. I mean, the like rankings like Standard and Poor's and so forth. There are some very interesting startups that are or that want to or working on developing actually this cryptocurrency rating, especially. So that might be very interesting for you to look into it. One of the startups that we have or looking at right now is Blue Chip. It's an Austrian startup. As I said, it's not like auditing, but it's more ranking, which could be also very interesting for you. Yeah. And seeing if I can share the website. Further questions?
I think it would be nice to also look at blockchain from the Palestinian perspective. So I don't know whether Katia wants to share anything in this respect. I know you can't speak, but I'm sure the group would be more than happy to see your reflections in this respect. So if it is fine with all of you. Okay. I think, Michele, I can ask you to kindly share the powers of screen sharing with Katia too. And in the meantime, thank you, Laura, for sharing your what you mentioned in the chat. Okay. I think, Laura, you have to leave us a little bit earlier. So in case Katia is sharing her screen, I would like to deeply thank you for the time you devoted, for the in-depth presentation, and for particularly enabling me to understand what blockchain is all about, because I was among the ones connecting it with Bitcoin straight away. So thank you. And I think a round of applause is essential in this respect. So thank you wholeheartedly.
Thank you for having me. And in case you have further questions, feel free to contact me. So I'm really happy, to stay in touch.
Thank you very much. So feel free to leave whenever you need to have. And in the meantime, Katya, if you wish to share your screen, maybe the rest of the groups would like to connect to what you share for further insights, and you cannot yet. So Michele.
Yeah, now you should have the permission.
Okay. So I think you can easily scroll it down. Okay. And maybe, we leave everybody read through the presentation, so it will be quite silent now. And I have problems with silence. I tend to empty all the space when there is silence. But yes, I think, Katya, you can scroll it down, and if anybody has a question, you can raise your hand and intervene in the meantime, okay?
Do you think, sorry, but do you think it would work if one of us managed to read, or maybe Katya?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, Katya. Yeah, Katya.
Or you, Sarah.
It would be tricky. Whatever. If you prefer Rania or me, that would be fine. Katya, can you just scroll it down? Because since you're sharing your screen, that would be helpful. So feel free to go for it, Rania. Okay.
So is it me or you, Sarah? You have a better.
Okay, I can. I just feel
Katya cannot do it anyway. It's not scrolling down.
Or you have it recorded. That would be even better. So you have your voice. Okay. There should be a special setting, but here I need to ask Michele how to share the sound. I know there is something you need to do with the audio.
Is there anybody from the group knows how to do this, to share the sound from the PC? Maybe Sally or...
Well, are we talking about a video?
Sorry?
Are we talking about a video to share?
Welcome to our exciting journey.
Okay.
Started. Excellent. Kamli.
Into the world of fintech in Palestine. In this presentation, we're going to explore the vibrant fintech landscape, meet the key players, uncover the challenges, and look ahead to the future. So, what exactly is fintech? Simply put, fintech is where finance meets technology. Think of it as using cutting-edge tech to make financial services faster, easier, and more secure. From mobile payments to robo-advisors, fintech is transforming how we manage our money. And it's not just a global trend, it's making waves right here in Palestine too. Before diving into the fintech landscape, it's important to understand the current state of financial inclusion in Palestine. Despite significant progress, only a little more than 1/3 of adults in the Palestinian territories use formal financial services. While this is higher than the MENA average, a 2016 survey revealed that only 15% of women participate in the financial sector. Remarkable achievements have been made in financial infrastructure, education, consumer protection, and the microfinance sector. However, access to finance for small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, and startups remains a challenge. Trust in financial services is also low, with an unmet annual demand for SME finance estimated between $630 and $900 million. In response, policymakers are focusing on increasing financial inclusion for SMEs, enhancing financial awareness, and promoting alternative, technology-based financial products. Recognizing the potential of fintech to improve financial inclusion, the government, regulators, and private stakeholders agreed upon a national strategy for financial inclusion in 2018. This strategy emphasizes using technology, educating the population, and protecting consumers. With this backdrop, let's explore how the fintech landscape in Palestine is evolving. Palestine's fintech journey is truly inspiring. Over the past few years, we've seen a surge in innovative financial solutions tailored to meet local needs. Whether it's mobile wallets or digital banking, fintech is bringing financial services to more people than ever before. But what's driving this change? Let's take a closer look at the key sectors and the regulatory landscape that's shaping this dynamic industry. The Palestinian regulators are driving innovation with initiatives like the PCMA Innovation Office Uptaker and the PMA's FinTech Regulatory Sandbox. These platforms allow fintech innovators to test their ideas under regulatory oversight. The FinTech Task Force is also crucial, fostering dialogue between the public and private sectors. With the pandemic accelerating the shift to digital, e-payments and e-wallets have become vital for person-to-government transactions. Campaigns by the PMA and payment service providers, supported by social media influencers, are raising awareness about the benefits of digital financial services. In addition to the Palestinian regulators' role, innovation hubs and accelerators are playing a pivotal role in nurturing fintech talent. The Intersect Innovation Hub and Flow Accelerator have been at the forefront, hosting hackathons and incubation programs that are sparking new ideas and encouraging young entrepreneurs. Moreover, big players in the corporate sector are catching on too. Jawwal, one of the leading telecom companies in Palestine, was among the first to introduce an e-wallet through its innovative service, Jawwal Pay. The Bank of Palestine has been a key supporter of fintech ventures, launching PalPay, a comprehensive digital payment platform. The Palestine Investment Bank has also stepped up its fintech efforts with CashCab, an e-wallet service designed to streamline digital payments. Additionally, the National Bank has shown increasing interest in fintech collaboration, supporting the Flow Accelerator's Fintech Camp, which focuses on raising awareness and nurturing young innovators in the fintech sector. These initiatives by Jawwal, the Bank of Palestine, and the Palestine Investment Bank demonstrate a noteworthy increase in corporate sector involvement in fintech. By leveraging their resources and influence, these institutions are driving the growth of the fintech ecosystem in Palestine. In an exciting development for the Palestinian fintech landscape, Reflect has launched as the first neobank in Palestine. This initiative, in collaboration with Arab Bank, offers a fully online banking experience with no fees, making financial services more accessible and convenient for everyone. Reflect's innovative approach marks a significant step towards digital transformation in the banking sector. Blockchain technology has the potential to transform Palestine's economy and governance. Here's how it can make an impact: economic development. Blockchain can drive economic independence and growth. Land registry and property rights. It can create a secure, transparent land registry to protect property ownership. Digital identity management. A blockchain-based digital identity system can improve access to government and banking services. Supply chain management. Blockchain can enhance transparency and traceability in agriculture and manufacturing. Payments, it offers faster and more affordable cross-border transactions. Healthcare and education, blockchain can secure medical records and verify educational credentials. Financial inclusion, DeFi platforms can provide financial services to unbanked populations. Intellectual property, it can protect digital content and ensure fair compensation for creators. Cryptocurrency usage in Palestine faces significant challenges due to the economic and regulatory environment. Palestinian banks are burdened with excess shekels because of Israeli restrictions on cash transactions and limits on monthly transfers back into Israel. This has impacted the development of a sovereign digital currency, which could otherwise offer digital payment solutions for Palestinians. While crypto offers a solution for international transactions, the lack of local crypto exchanges and regulatory hurdles mean its role remains limited to cross-border activities rather than daily financial needs. Imagine being unable to access a global service simply because of where you live. That's the reality for many Palestinians when it comes to PayPal. On May 8, 2024, 7amla, the Arab Center for the Advancement of Social Media, released a position paper titled Unraveling PayPal's Bias, position paper on discrimination against Palestinians. The paper criticizes PayPal for its discriminatory policies that prevent Palestinians from using its services. This exclusion is seen as a violation of international human rights standards, including the United Nations Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The report assesses the Palestinian digital economy's readiness for online payments, highlighting issues such as infrastructure, skills, and legal frameworks. It reveals that PayPal's refusal to serve Palestinians stems from political bias and infringes on their consumer, labor, and development rights. 7amla, which has been advocating for change through the PayPal for Palestine campaign since 2017, calls for PayPal to end its discriminatory practices and align with international human rights standards. And finally, we would like to introduce you to Pal Blue Book, a groundbreaking startup revolutionizing the used car market with machine learning. Founded by Ahmad I. Kenan, Pal Blue Book is the world's first platform to introduce the Vehicle Condition Index, VCI, a smart metric that evaluates a car's condition based on its age and wear. This advanced AI-driven platform predicts local used car prices, offering essential insights for insurance companies, banks, governmental agencies, and individuals alike. By providing accurate pricing references and resolving valuation conflicts, Pal Blue Book ensures fair value for vehicles, reflecting current market demand and vehicle condition. As we wrap up, we've seen a vibrant and evolving fintech landscape in Palestine, from groundbreaking initiatives in blockchain to innovative startups transforming industries. While we've highlighted successful ventures like Pal Blue Book and discussed ongoing challenges such as PayPal's restrictions, it's clear that the fintech ecosystem is gaining momentum. Emerging solutions like crowdfunding and crowd investing are on the horizon, promising to further enrich the financial landscape. These startups are still in their development stages, but they hold great potential for the future. Thank you for your attention, and we hope you found this overview insightful. The journey of fintech in Palestine is just beginning, and there's much more to look forward to.
Katia, may I deeply thank you. I think I am thanking you on behalf of the entire group. That was really, really interesting and amazing. Also, I really found it interesting the way you structured it. So I'm deeply grateful indeed for what you did. If there is any question you have, I think you can post them in the chat. And Katia may reply using the chat too. But I see that we are also running out of time. So maybe if anybody would like to know anything very, very important right now, feel free to use the chat. otherwise, I think Anya can also be reached by, Katia can also be reached by email for further details. And I would be grateful if you could kindly share your presentation. I think it would be essential, and I look forward to seeing the recording online soon. I think it is really, really important what you shared with us. If you can just stop sharing your screen so that we greet everybody. Thank you again. I think this is indeed a great group, and what I saw this morning really confirmed what I already believe in group work and how we can improve by learning from each other. So this was a marvelous example of that. So thank you, Katia, again. And I hope you could learn something useful for your daily business and daily work, both within your institution as well as within your startup like Lama. So yes, again, thank you again. And I would like to wish you all a relaxing summer break. Regardless the conditions and the overall context you're experiencing. Yeah, so I'll stop speaking right now. Thank you very much, and a wonderful and relaxing summer break, and especially a way to rest a bit. Okay. We will be in touch. You know that there will be another online episode next week. It will be the last one on telecommunication, and we will have the ministry there, or a representative from the ministry, thanks to Munket. So I highly invite you to attend the last one too, and enjoy the rest of your summer. See you. Bye.
Thank you, Sarah, for moderating this webinar, and see you all next time.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
I think we can stop recording. Has it already been stopped?